Hey guys, welcome to another video from Historic Militaria. Today we're looking at a gun that I personally think is great looking and just conceptually really interesting, but once you actually have one, shoot one, use one, you're probably not going to enjoy it too much. This is the Steyr SPP. It is the civilian semi-auto version of the Steyr TMP, which is a full auto, basically a submachine gun without a stock. And that the TMP was designed around 1989, went into production in the early 90s, and Steyr decided, hey, let's make a semi-auto version for the American civilian market. And it fires a 9mm parabellum, so just standard 9mm ammo. You know, they're good looking. They've got a certain appeal about them. They are definitely a unique looking firearm. They are classified as a pistol. They accept either a 15 or 30 round magazine. This is the 30 round magazine in this guy. This one is the 15 round magazine in this one. And this one is apart. We'll take a look at the insides in just a second. But these are great looking. They feel good in the hand, but the trigger pull is about 10 pounds on them. And you kind of have one and start asking yourself, why do I have one of these when any number of other good guns are out there that do what this does a lot easier? So a lot of people bought these and then shot them a little bit, thought, well, I'm not really into this, and kept them or sold them. So you can actually find them pretty cheap for what they are, considering they're an early 90s import. They only imported them for a few years, and then in 2001, or in about 1999, Steyr stopped making the TMP and sold the rights in about 2001 or so to B&T, which is Bruger and Thomé of Switzerland. And they now produce the TP9 and the TP9 US, which is basically this upgraded to a more modern standard. And those are actually readily available on the American collector or civilian shooter market. A couple of differences are under here. They put a Picatinny rail, or they actually give you the option to have a front hand grip. If you decide to go the NFA route, you can certainly do that. They also give you the option to attach a stock to the rear of one of these. On the TP9, these do not have that, certainly not readily. Again, if you want to go the short-barreled rifle route, you can do that. You can buy one of those and then register it and do all that stuff. Get your gun up to NFA standards. These really didn't have that. These were meant to be just fired using a sling to stabilize them, and they're really not too cool to shoot. They are a locked breech, rotating breech, or rotating barrel, much like the Steyr Hahn pistol from World War I. And this is the fire assembly. This is the bolt and the barrel. And on one of these, when it recoils, you basically have the barrel will rotate at about 15 degrees or so. And it's not a lot of rotation, but it's just enough to lock the breech and make sure that there's enough delay in the blowback so that you've got a locked breech until pressure is dropped and it's safe to open the bolts. The entire outer casing of the gun is basically made of polymer, and for an early 90s gun, it was kind of an interesting thing. Not a lot of guns were using tons and tons of polymer, certainly not to the extent that this was. I mean, even this rod here is polymer. Your spring is metal, of course. Your only markings are going to be made in Austria. And flip this over. And then your US patents and your Steyr Mannlicher. There's really sort of a primitive option for some mounting. of different sites allegedly that were around in the 90s. I'm really not sure what they were, unfortunately. This guy actually does have a rail mounted on it. I do not believe that this is a factory standard piece. I think it's a later addition. Kind of interested to know who might have made that, but it's just something that you can actually use to maybe update it to the 21st century if you wanted to use one of these. And then certainly, I think the biggest complaint about these was the trigger pull. And as you can see, the trigger here, when you pull that trigger, again, it's about a 10-pound pull. It's fighting against that spring, and it's just not a great trigger. It's smooth enough, but it's nothing to write home about, certainly. These are well-made guns. There is a collector market for them to a point, but for what they are, they certainly never really have commanded the premium that other personal defense weapons would command. But if you're interested in one, they are regularly out there and for sale. The other thing I should mention is you really can't do anything with the barrels. This is permanently attached. So while perhaps you could get it off, I don't believe that the factory civilian ones really can be readily converted to accept a suppressor or anything like that. But they are interesting guns, and if you're into sort of cool-looking late 80s, early 90s firearms that are a little bit unusual, this is definitely something to consider. And here's a mess of them to kind of look at. Not a lot came over into the United States. Certainly no great numbers of them. They didn't sell well. They just look good, but then are kind of impractical, and you kind of go, why did I buy these? But always remember to like and subscribe, and we'll be doing more videos in the near future on all kinds of interesting militaria and firearms. And thanks for watching.